Welcome to Recovery Report Live. I'm Dan Odess, president of GlobalPro, where we manage risk to recovery, and we have managed more than $1 billion in recovery. We've represented thousands of community associations and business owners alike in the placement of insurance, recovery from loss, and also assisting with the rebuilding process. We have a signature process here at GlobalPro, Ready Recovery Rebuild. It's a cyclical process that our clients have absolutely loved and enjoyed throughout the years. And while we're celebrating our 10th year, we want to make sure that you have information you can use, and that's what this show is all about. We want to bring on special guests, talk about important issues, not only impacting you because of insurance, but also as business owners and as property managers, or if you're on the board. Unfortunately, right now, you're under a lot of stress, but we want to make sure that you have information you can use. And right now, it's a really hot topic. Obviously, a special session that was called into order by our governor in Florida was met with a lot of adversity from both sides, whether you're on the company side or whether you're on the community association side, or if you're just an interested bystander like us in the insurance services industry, wanting to know what's going to go on, what are our clients, our consumers, the policyholders going to be having to deal with from this point forward. There's a lot to unpack in these bills and a lot of important information, but if you're paying attention, June 1st marked the start of the 2022 storm season. So before I get into all the legislation stuff, and hopefully you pay attention throughout this entire show, we're going to hit some important information. I'm going to read from some information too as well to make sure that I have the facts right and the information that you need if you are a policyholder and you're concerned about insurance, if you're concerned about community association issues, whether you're a board member or a property manager, you're going to want to listen to everything I have to say coming up. So we have two areas of interest. We have one that's coming across the Yucatan Peninsula and the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. Now, this area of interest is expected to actually turn into something, our first storm of the season. If it does, it will be named Alex. Now, there are some predictions as far as formation, 80% or higher, so continue to monitor and certainly watch this. Now, early predictions were saying, while it may not turn into a storm, it may not, and it may not become Alex, it's going to bring a lot of rain, a lot of flooding into our local market in the areas in the south part of Florida. That could be anywhere from I-4 corridor down. Orlando, if you're not sure what that is, and you recently transplanted into the South Florida area, I-4 corridor and south means Orlando south. Certainly we'll see some impacts of this, but this is a moving system that has a lot to make up for, right? It has a lot of ground to make up, rather, over the next few days. So again, it's anyone's guess as to where it's going to be, but all we can do is look at science, look at predictions, and try to opine as to where it's going next. But the one thing's for sure is that it's definitely going to bring weather wherever it goes, and it's going to be a lot of rain and a lot of flooding. Some winds, certainly, I would say that over 40 miles an hour is what they're projecting at this moment. We'll see where it goes. We'll continue monitoring it. If you haven't already, make sure you check out our social media feeds. We want to put out actionable information, not information that you're seeing inside some of the media sources, but we're actually reading the information that's coming from NOAA, but we're also tapping into our network of advisors, meteorologists that are reading and reviewing the data information as it's coming in, the raw data, not made for TV, right? We want to actually look at the raw data. We just recently had on a meteorologist that talked all about that process and how it can result in much different projections than what you may see on your TV stations, your local news. So we're looking at the raw data, looking at that information. So really good source is obviously our social media channels where you're going to get it the fastest. If you have any questions about being prepared for these storms or what's coming up, if you haven't really taken advantage of the tax season opportunity in South Florida region, make sure you take a look at it. It is in our social media feed as well as on our website. There's some links there, some information about things you can buy right now and enjoy some little tax-free and some incentives to help you prepare for this upcoming season. With the scarcity of materials and the rising costs of things, really important to take advantage of these times when prices are a little bit lower, a little bit adjusted for you because of these tax savings. Really important, particularly for community association, business owners, as well as homeowners, to take advantage of these things and do it. There's also a second area of interest. This is more out in the Atlantic area. They're not really certain of a formation at this point, but from what I was reading and talking to some of my colleagues, this may actually feed into what may become Alex and actually help strengthen it. So we'll see how these two storms interplay with each other. Two low pressure systems so closely together, or projected to be close together. they may play on each other. And we've seen things as far back as Superstorm Sandy in 2012 when we were just getting started here at GlobalPro, and we saw how our nor'easter mixed with a tropical storm and turned into what is now known as Superstorm Sandy. So there is some interplay between storms and low pressure systems, and it can contribute or it can help dissipate those storms by creating a lot of wind shear and other issues with it. So again, I'm not a meteorologist, but I'm providing you the information that we are getting from colleagues and other sources, credible sources that have facts and information you want to know about and hear at home while you're trying to plan for your business as well as for its employees, community association managers and employees. Make sure that your unit notes are fully informed by having the information you need. Right, so we talked about the start of the storm season, June 1st, 2022, right? We've already a couple days into it and we're getting threatened by a storm. Now 2021 saw quite a few storms, so don't think that we're out of the woods just because we had 2 little hot spots or you're just early on. June was a very active 2021 storm season, so make sure you plan for that. Now recently, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, our legislative session our legislators were called into session by our governor to tackle really important issues on insurance particularly, but also for community associations. There was really 2 bills that were on the table that were prepped for this special session. Now, if you read the order by the governor, it talks about homeowners insurance and the importance of fixing the homeowners insurance market. A lot of insurance companies exiting the market on these alleged issues with regards to capitalization and being able to get reinsurance and the costs and the claims and this litigation. Now, interestingly enough, and as we dug through this stuff, we come to learn and find out that they didn't even have all the information about the litigation. They didn't. There's some confusion as to when it was actually supposed to report it. But let's set that aside, right? Let's ignore facts, substitute emotion or the profits of insurance companies, and in walks more anti-consumer legislation, right? And that's pretty much what we got here. I mean, it is so confusing and so terribly written that even those that were a proponent of this legislation stated after the bills were passed, I think that is something we'll possibly need to clarify. Meaning this confusion regarding age of roofs and whether or not 25% or more damage of a roof would constitute the replacement of it if the roof complies with current building code. And the reaction to that was, well, if part of the bill says that they're going to apply certain deductibles for roofs that are of a certain age, and part of the bill, and another bill, so we have Senate Bill 2D, and we have Senate Bill 4, okay? You have these 4D, so you have these 2 bills, and how they interplay, there's some questions about how it impacts policyholders. And they wanted to curb claims and make it more profitable to insurance companies to transact insurance in Florida with the idea that it's somehow going to save the consumer money. But all this legislation did, 100% what it did, was it stripped the consumers of access to advocates and allows insurance companies to sell less coverage at pretty much the same increased rates that we're seeing today. In fact, most legislators, even those that have supported the bill and voted for it, will tell you that they're not expecting to see any sort of cost savings, at least for the next 18 months, if ever. Well, but if you actually look at the marketing around this and the statements made by legislators, that was the idea, it was to save the Florida insurance market to help the consumer. But it's stripped coverage. You're not going to see really any savings. And it's actually unclear as to how the bills work together to help protect the consumer and the insurance companies in dealing with claims, and this idea that this out-of-control litigation is causing an increased cost of insurance in Florida. It's strange, right? So if you actually, this comes from an article that I found. It says, one part modifies the state building code, which until now has required that the entire roofs be replaced if just 25% of surface is damaged. The bill opens the door to less costly repairs as long as the rest of the roof surface meets code requirements, meaning the insurance company would owe you less because you can repair it rather than replacing it. Okay. However, it goes on to say, Brandon has also raised a question about the interplay of the 2 bills, which no one could answer. If more roofs are repaired instead of replaced in the coming years, Per the building code legislation, and part of a home's roof is repaired at year 1 and another part at year 5, how old is the roof? And the reaction and the response to one of its biggest proponents for this legislation that is supposed to protect you, the consumer, is, I think that's something we'll probably need to clarify. It's so obvious that it's an issue, that there's no clarity as to how this is going to help anyone, and why this won't result in more litigation is mind-blowingly stupid. So I just think about that. That's what you're dealing with right now. Let's go on, though, to another part of this. This is the section I call hiding the ball, all right? And one of the legislators brought this up, Pizzo, he actually is an attorney, said that much blame has been heaped on plaintiffs' lawyers and their fees, which Senate Bill 2D aims to limit. But despite a bill passed last year that requires insurers to track claims litigation information and report it to the Office of Insurance Regulation, the office has yet to finalize a regulation detailing the data call. Well, aren't they running on this campaign that it's the cost of litigation that has led to the issues and the rising costs of insurance? I mean, that's, if you could just Google it, that's the headline that has been playing for months and months and months. So Pizzo argued that 2021's bill, Senate Bill 76, required data by January of this year. And then another proponent of that bill argued that, well, he's a little bit confused as to when it's owed, and he thinks it's actually in 2023. And the same pundit who made a comment about needing to clarify the confusing legislation that was passed regarding roofs this year stated, well, that's something we'll have to work on to speed up the process. But again, these are our legislators that promoted this idea that it's the cost of litigation, the claims, the cost of claims, which has led to the complications and issues in our market, which has led to the increased cost of insurance, and the lack of desire by insurers to sell insurance here. But they're not even reporting what those actual issues are. It's just insinuation that there is a problem without any sort of facts supporting it. I mean, think about this. That's our legislators doing this. But I want to move on to, I actually think, some positive information that came out here, and it has nothing to do with insurance, because really nothing in that bill, even the reporting requirements by surplus lines insurers, is weak. It still doesn't hit it. There's no accountability. Well, what they did accomplish is some more accountability for community associations. So again, the consumer, leveling it on these volunteer board members to hold them accountable. But these billion and trillion dollar insurance companies, nah, they don't need to be accountable. I mean, that's actually what this legislator said, that, well, we think there's actually more time to report these issues. But you're already in just reporting on this, saying these things and getting the support, garnering the support. I mean, you even saw local mayors and things write emails in support of these bills and everything. They don't even realize that what it's going to do to their local communities if we were to experience Hurricane Alex in our South Florida market right now in the height of cost of construction, the scarcity of material, all these things. I don't want to be an alarmist, but I mean, these are the words of the legislators that supported these things. They can't even clearly tell you the intent of the bills. This is going to result in more litigation. There's no way to look at that otherwise. It's going to be confusing. How old is the roof really? That's going to be an issue. They're going to be litigated. It's not clearly defined in the law. The governor signed this bill. He called them back in the special session for homeowners insurance and then enacted a bill that broadly impacts all of insurance. So if you look at the actual order, it talks about homeowners insurance. I talked about it in an earlier broadcast about how brokers selling commercial policies to community associations were using this order to disenfranchise associations from pursuing claims and retaining public adjusters and attorneys to dealing with claims that were wrongfully denied or underpaid. And here we are, legislator passing broad sweeping laws that they can't even explain. They don't even know how they're going to use this legislation to help the insurance market. In fact, the data that they actually allege exists that will support the position they've taken today, which is this idea that litigation expense and everything else is leading to increased costs, they admit they don't even have it. It has not been reported entirely. So it's confusing, but okay, let's shift to the consumer. Let's talk about how they burden these associations and everything else with further information. But I'm going to take the position that there's burdensome issue with regards to inspections in the wake of Champlain South Tower. I think it's necessary because there are a lot of associations I have seen that have punted on reserves, that have avoided actually doing the improvement projects that are necessary to protect the infrastructure of buildings. And more inspections, I actually think, are necessary. But how are those inspections going to be paid for? Who's going to be reviewing those inspections? What they're going to be doing with it? And the process around that. There's some questions, obviously, that are left out there that need to be answered. But moving to, I believe, the actual positive side of the legislation, I do think that something needed to be done with community associations. And we have an upcoming seminar, so definitely make sure that you check out and follow us on social media, look for our emails, whatever else. We are going to be doing a panel discussion where we're going to be breaking down in detail the community association aspects of it. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time today talking about those things, but I do want to bring one thing to light, really important. There is this shift, right, from the 40, 50 year inspection and to a 30 years of age and every 10 years thereafter, or 25 years of age and every 10 years thereafter. So a shift from the 40 and 50 to a 30-25. I'll call it that, the 30-25 rule. So you do see some shift in those things as well as some other things. There are other requirements within the bill, structural integrity reserve studies that need to be done every 10 years for each building. Again, I'm not going into great detail. It only applies to certain buildings that are 3 stories or higher. There's some caveats to it if you're 3 miles of the coastline. So you do need to get in the weeds on this. If you are a property manager in that industry, or you're a board member, or just an interested unit owner, I've been calling on unit owners that are not board members to start to get more interested. I've been calling on board members to be more clear about their objectives, their goals. Post them just like business owners do. Make them known to your unit owners, just as you do with your employees that are on staff helping you manage those buildings. This is going to be part of it. You're going to have to start planning for these things. But I want to remind people, as we are being threatened by a hurricane, a potential hurricane system, let me call it a tropical system, to look at your reserves. What did you reserve for? Are there any limitations or caveats in your policies with regards to winter and rain issues or water damages and clear openings, caps or exclusions for mold or mitigation? It's really important. And if you haven't already, make sure you're contacting your local mitigation contractors as well as your public adjusters, mostly GlobalPro, to help you plan for these things. We do have a preferred client service program, just like your mitigation companies, where we'll get in there early to help you take pictures, document the property, collect your insurance policies, and do all the things you should be doing as a community association and business owner. And I say business owners because business owners should be engaging their employees in this process and explain to them what your expectations are. Lay them out. We circulate at the beginning of every storm season our plan for that year, and we update it every single year. There's always something that we tweak and refine and add and do different. Particularly now, a lot of people are back to work. They're back in their offices. They're back on property. They're away from home, not working from home. So or they're a hybrid situation. They're working from home, but also in the office certain days. Or maybe you're doing 100% work from home. Who knows? Whatever the situation, it certainly has changed since, let's say, 2019. 2020 and 2021, we were still dealing with extreme issues regarding pandemics and illness and viruses and working from home and trying to work through that. A lot of people have transitioned back to the office. There's definitely been a big move to that. But if you're still in a hybrid situation or working from home, you still should set expectations for your employees. It's really, really important. And for community associations, do a dry run of that plan. What are you going to do if you're in that 5-day cone, maybe you're in the 2-day cone, 1-day cone. There should be something as you're ramping things up, as that storm moves closer, that you should be doing. And it should have already been practiced. You should actually do it. How long does it really take you to stack your furniture off your pool deck and securely store it? Really important question. I'll be honest with you, so many people get it wrong. Having keys to units or so many other things, contact us, let us know how we can help you. We want to make sure that you have all the information you can use. That's what this broadcast is all about. Sorry for all the doom and gloom about Senate Bill 2D. I'm sorry, I'm heated about the issue. You should be heated as a consumer, as a policyholder. It just really just drives me crazy. I know I just stuttered and repeated myself. That's how upset I am over this thing. So just, if you want more information about it, let us know. I don't find anything good in the bill. I really don't. I think most of the reporting requirements, they fall short. Even the reporting requirements that were passed in Senate Bill 76, which I was all up in arms over then, aren't either being adhered to, or there's some confusion as to when they're going to do it. So you think there's going to be any better reporting now? Come on. I mean, there's so many loopholes in this thing, and there's so lack of clarity. But we're going to continue advocating for policyholders, for business owners, community associations, and homeowners alike, and making sure you have information you can use. And the best way you can keep up on that is to like us and follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want to make sure you have it. That we do this every single week right here, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, from the Griffin Studio. We're celebrating 10 years. That's what it is for us. Over $1 billion in recovery. And if you want information you can use as a policyholder, don't hesitate to contact us 24/7, 365, whether it's before, during, or after a storm. We have people standing ready to help our policyholders, help our clients and our communities rebound from disaster. We will be out there doing charitable efforts to make sure our community has what it needs, as well as helping clients with their policies and navigating that process, which is going to be increasingly more difficult this season, without a doubt. So let us know how we can help you. And again, like us, follow us, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's so important that you have what you need right here, 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's what the Recovery Report Live is all about. And we'll see you next week, same place, same time.